Welcome back to Keep Heading East. I'm Murray from the YSC Cookery School. If you're joining us again, then welcome back. And if you're joining this series for the first time, you've joined us in Iran, which is our last stop in the Middle East before jumping into Asia. As always, you can check out the main introduction to the series by clicking the on-screen link in the cards or follow the link in the description to our free PDF cookbook with all of the dishes that we'll be cooking in this series. Or if you prefer the printed version, there's one there as well. Now, as we've seen in the last few episodes, the style of cooking in Middle Eastern countries crosses over quite a lot. And that's due to the history and the migration of its citizens over thousands of years. However, while Iranian or formerly Persian cuisine draws on a lot of these sort of Middle Eastern influences, there's definitely a stronger influence from Asia than there is in other Middle Eastern cultures. It really is kind of a bridge between the West and the East. You can't visit Iran without being impressed by its stunning sort of variety of ingredients and the dishes. From the familiar kebab to the sort of more obscure grilled lamb's testicles, there's a huge range of foods on offer. From caviar, pickle, smoked fish in the north, samosas, falafel, hot and sour shrimp in the south, and noodles and flatbreads and sort of rose-scented ice cream right across the country. Now, once the center of the Persian Empire, Iran neighbors the former Soviet Union countries as well as Afghanistan, Pakistan, the Arab states and Turkey. Now, although Iran is part of the Middle East, it has close ties with Europe and the Far East and Africa, owing to its central sort of place on the Silk Road trade route. Alexander the Great conquered the Persian Empire back in the 4th century, and later it was invaded by the Arabs, the Turks, Mongols. So on top of existing Persian cuisine, they integrated a lot of what the outsiders brought in with them as well. A classic example of this would be something like a Russian-style borscht with cumin and coriander and yogurt. There's many really desirable and expensive ingredients that are native to Iran, including things like pistachios, almonds, walnuts, saffron, mint, oranges, pomegranates and grapes. And it's Iran's variable climate that makes this kind of possible. Okay, they've got 4 distinct seasons. Unlike other parts of the Middle East where the sort of dry terrain has traditionally limited what food could be grown there. The ancient Persians transformed vast stretches of arid land into fertile oases via underground aquifers that drew sort of melted snow water into the desert, making it possible to grow all of these luxurious fruits and nuts. Now, Iranians love sour flavors. Quince, rhubarb, green plums, sour oranges, lemons, limes, dried limes, sour cherries, tamarind, sumac and pomegranate. And they're all really well utilized in Persian cooking to make the food more tart and zingy. It's actually quite difficult to find reasonable recipes and video content to suggest on Persian food due to the fact that Iranians are very secretive about their recipes. It's kind of commonly known that the best Persian food is eaten inside Persian homes. And these cookery methods are often sort of closely guarded secrets. Fesenjan, or pomegranate and walnut stew. This iconic stew is an essential part of every Persian wedding. It's a perfect balance of tart pomegranate with chicken or duck. And this week it's our entry into the Keep Heading East cookbook. Due to the slow cooking nature of this stew, it's really vital to get yourself some chicken thighs. A slow cooking cut that won't dry out like breast would. Badamjan, the eggplant and tomato stew, and it's got a sort of this really shiny gold color of tomatoes cooked with turmeric, and it gets a sheen of oil on the top of it. It's really like a prized characteristic of Persian cooking. And other Eastern curries actually. It shows the stew's being boiled for long enough for all of the oils to rise up. It's kind of slightly tart with the tang of the tomatoes and lemon juice, and its tanginess is kept in check by the eggplant, which is first fried off on its own till it's nice and golden brown, and cooked with onions and lamb and the tomatoes, etc. Really tasty. Kebabs have more variety than you might think in Iran, with the most common being lamb, chicken, lamb's liver, or simple sort of ground meat kebabs. They're usually marinated with lemon and onions, and often the addition of saffron and basted well with butter and grilled over coals. So as you can imagine, they're packed full of flavour. Now, rice is a staple, can be prepared simply just with butter and saffron, known as shelo, but just as often it's cooked with lots of other ingredients as well, called polo. Tardig, a crunchy sort of fried rice, is the sole food of Persian cooking. It's a crisp golden layer of fried rice at the bottom of this rice pot, kind of like a dome. It tastes like a combination of popcorn and potato chips, but with the delicate flavour of basmati rice as well. It's eaten as a side dish, and it's all right to pick it up and eat it with your fingers. Okay, jeweled rice. The rice is dotted with brightly coloured dried fruits and nuts like little jewels. This is a sort of a sweet savoury dish that shows off some of the native ingredients to Iran, including pistachios, almonds, candied orange peel, barberries, carrots and saffron. Now, as I said earlier, good recipes and videos surrounding Persian cuisine are quite hard to come by. Okay, so I've had to opt for a Persian lamb shank dish with jeweled rice from an Australian chef called Justine Schofield. This recipe uses all of these authentic Persian ingredients. So if you're wanting to try something Persian at home, then Justine's dish is a great place to get started. Now, Iran and the Persian cuisine are quite unknown and underestimated by Western society. And if you're interested in exploring it a little further, I'd highly recommend an episode from an Anthony Bourdain series called Parts Unknown, where him and his crew traveled to Iran. They spent quite a long time trying to get in to do some filming and eventually made a great episode exploring the food and also a little bit of the culture. Now, for those of you who don't know who Anthony Bourdain is, he's a legendary American chef / travel writer and then a filmmaker who sadly hung himself in 2018 while he was filming a series of Parts Unknown for CNN. After graduating from the Culinary Institute of America in 1978, he went on to run various restaurant kitchens in New York City, including the Supper Club, 1 Fifth Avenue and Sullivan's. In the 80s, he began writing crime novels, and after a couple of failed attempts, he published a book called Kitchen Confidential. It was a global success and really what sort of brought him into the spotlight. The book gives a really honest insight to life in the restaurant kitchens in that era and sort of set Bourdain's frank, honest and rebellious tone for the next 18 years of culinary travel and adventure, countless books, loads of television documentaries. His final series, Parts Unknown, was produced by CNN, and depending on where you're based, the whole 12 series is available on either Amazon Prime Video or Netflix, and it makes really good watching. Or if you want to see a few snippets from his Iran episode to get an impression of Iran and of Bourdain, you can follow the on-screen link in a moment. And for anyone who's interested in seeking out a deeper understanding of pretty much any culinary culture on the planet, then he's your man. He's had a huge impact on many people's culinary journeys, and he'll be really greatly missed. So that's it for this stop on our Keep Heading East tour of global cuisine. I hope you've enjoyed it. Links are on screen now for the videos I mentioned earlier if you'd like to see a little more from the region. And remember, for our subscribers, there's a fantastic cookbook to accompany this series. So if you haven't already, hit subscribe and grab yourself a free PDF copy of our cookbook, or if you prefer a hard copy, the links are there as well. Thanks for watching. See you soon.